Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6th sense for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chain. Can't control me. I got the power.
This is Talkin VAWLS Live. My name is the Indie Kid.
I'm Dauber. What's happening?
It's rock and roll. Tennessee 80, Missouri 61 tonight. Took care of business on the road. In my opinion, anytime you win a road game in the SEC, it's a good night. Overall thoughts, opening thoughts on the game?
Good game. Like you said, good to pick up a win on the road anytime. It looked like at times they were slipping back into some bad habits and offensively struggled a bit at times and then kind of got going. I was impressed with Victor Bailey coming off the bench, putting in some good minutes and hitting some shots. That's good to see because you're going to have some other guys stepping up and contributing to make a run. Good to see them go on the road outside of Thompson Bowling and score some points. Definitely
on the
road
had
Saturday,
some,
they struggled.
Yeah, they definitely had to make up some after Saturday. But, yeah, I mean, encouraging things. Like I said, Bailey, 18 minutes, 11 points. The Chef, 23 points tonight, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. I think Chandler's starting to hit a stride right now, or at least I hope so. And we'll see where it goes Saturdays. It's going to get real again on Saturday. But some big time stuff. I thought Adu did some good stuff tonight. And he was just 1 of 8, 5 points, 5 rebounds, still did some good stuff. Huntley Hatfield made a little bit of a contribution tonight as well. I thought overall a pretty good game for him tonight. And like you said, at times –
the young guys defensively, I think, is where you're seeing their biggest impact. At the rim, rebounding, specifically Adu on that end. It's good to see. We expected it to be a kind of tough, gritty game. And then it comes down, Mizzou's missing some guys. I think their bench only went 7 or 8 deep tonight. So that makes it tough, but
they're not a very good team either.
They're not, but they're physical, and that's what kind of concerned me because you go on the road and you start missing some shots and you're getting out physicaled. Then we've seen how that can play out for this team. So it was good that despite a couple lulls in the offense. Ended up shooting fairly well at 45% from the floor, 50% from 3. So that's a pretty good night. I'll take that. It's only going to get tougher. You got a couple more to close out the year, and then the conference tournament. You definitely hope that Saturday in Fayetteville was an anomaly to the way this team has been playing.
Yeah, and that was a tough one, man. It's a lot of ways. I mean, they didn't play well Saturday, but I think Tennessee has some beef from Saturday as well. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But John Hill for $10. Thank you very much, John. Chandler's best game. Vescovy came to play second half. Bailey had a great game, too. Let's go Big Orange. Thought it was interesting that Bailey logged 11 points tonight, about 18 minutes. We did not even see Powell tonight at all. So I wonder if this is something that's going to be happening moving forward, or are they going to settle into this? I think Bailey has been showing some signs recently of doing some good things, and then it's like he'll play just a couple minutes. But if he gets in a role, and it's like Dane Bradshaw said on the broadcast, you would expect either Powell or Bailey to provide a scoring punch, and neither one of them really. So, maybe this is the game that gets Bailey going. I think it would be big for this team if he does. The emergence of Adu in the middle, or Adu, I've heard it pronounced both ways. I think I've heard as well. So I'd be interested to hear the correct pronunciation of that. But him, Bailey, if some of your young guys keep stepping up or whatever, I mean, they're settling in at this point to the rotation. And I think and Bradshaw said it again, I think in games, as long as they're not in foul trouble, you're going to have Ziegler, you're going to have Chandler, James, and Vescovy.
Yeah.
Fifth guy's going to determine who's hot.
Yep. I think that's the key. And like you said, those four have to stay out of foul trouble, because when the team struggled this year, it's been when you've had one of those guys sitting for an extended period of time. The offense just kind of goes stagnant, and it's like they can't get anything going. We've seen it with Vescovy sitting on the bench in foul trouble. We've seen it with Chandler on the bench in foul trouble. The offense runs the best, I really think, with those three in, and then James is kind of your mainstay. I think when he's in there, the team is more athletic. You saw tonight a couple times. You had Adu and Uros, or you had Adu and Fulkerson. I think maybe Hatfield and one of those guys as well. And we've talked about it before. You're really kind of giving up a little bit offensively, because it's almost like you're playing three guys offensively. So you're having to run a lot of ISO, or hope somebody kicks off of a cut open. But when they have that rotation, it's just hard to really kind of get the offense clicking like it does with the four guards.
Yeah, I agree. Chatsor said, I think 20 means we at least make the day. Tennessee's in at this point. They're in. I don't think it's going to matter what happens. I mean, obviously you don't want to lose and go down, but I thought it was interesting. They were talking on the telecast that Tennessee's actually favored and everything, even against Auburn on Saturday. I haven't seen the line, but I know Tom Hart talked about it, said they're favored in their remaining 3 games. So
it's going to be a big game Saturday.
It is. And I said it when I did the post game Saturday. They can win out. I said there was the possibility they could lose out. I mean, tough places to play. Good win tonight. I mean, Missouri's not a great team, like you said, or a physical team. They're one of those teams that can present problems for you.
Well, the other thing is kind of a trap game. Get caught looking ahead to the matchup Saturday. And that's harder to do in basketball, I think, because you play 2 nights a week, and especially going on the road in conference, it's going to. You would think these guys know you're going to get a physical game anytime you're playing in conference on the road, but it's a big,
especially with Martin,
big battle with Bruce. It's kind of funny. It's like 2 games back to back against former coaches.
Yeah,
it's kind of a little ironic there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, the feelings. I mean, I don't know that anybody necessarily I think people dislike Konzo just because he didn't win. I mean, it took a petition to get him going that last year, and then they made that Sweet 16 run. That was a team that had some talent all alone, and unfortunately, it took a petition to get them
fired up,
kind of gel together and get fired up. Unfortunately, that's what it took. I mean, Pearl's beloved in Knoxville. Appreciate what he did for the program and everything like that. But, at this point, Bruce Pearl's the enemy.
Yep.
Bruce Pearl's the enemy when he steps into Thompson Bowling Arena on Saturday. I know there'll be people cheering, people that, that's fine, whatever. But, people still clamoring that he'll one day come back. He's not coming back. He's never coming back other than as an opponent. Hell would have to freeze over before Bruce Pearl comes back. Is Powell done after this year? The thing with him is he would have to sit out if he transfers.
Correct.
He just transferred in, so he got his one-time transfer. He's not going to be able to transfer and play next year unless he moves down, and players just don't do that in basketball. Not this level. I don't think he leaves, but I don't know. Something's been off there for a pretty good while. He's not been shooting good. Can't get on the court. It is what it is. If he leaves, he leaves. That's another spot for somebody to come in and contribute. Because let's face it, he's not contributing right now. And I know he's better than this, but something is going on there. Don't know what it is. Don't know if it's effort. I know his defense has not been good. And I thought it was funny. He talked about Bailey's getting on the court because he's been playing solid defense. And I kind of thought before that he was defensive liability. So,
right.
We'll
I
see.
think Powell's big thing is he seems to be a step slow against some of the guys he guards. And you look at last year at Auburn, the guys he had around him, their length and athleticism, I think covered up for that when he was in there playing. And that's just a big difference in the team he was on last year versus this team this year. That help defense isn't quite as quick or rangy to make up for a step or two being behind.
Yeah, I agree. I think just that style of play suited him maybe a little bit better than the system he's in now. And that's something, if you're going to transfer, you better be sure you're going to a good system. And maybe I don't know. It's an interesting debate, and I wonder too if he'll be back. I don't really know. I don't see him transferring and setting, but maybe he does. Maybe don't think that there was not those talks after last season with guys who have transferred elsewhere. Maybe it happens here because he's still got, a few years of eligibility left. I agree with this one. Pro Wrestling Guru says, I think we can stop all the talk from KC potentially coming back, putting himself in being a lottery pick the last few games. I think he's hitting his stride. We'll see how he does against Auburn on Saturday. Curious to see how he'll do against Arkansas. But I saw some interesting comparisons. People disappointed, saying, he's dropping off. And think of it, point guards over the last couple of years. You had Turner before he went out. You had Bone. How many years did it take Bone before he was that big contributor? Took him 3 years. Kennedy Chandler's doing it in year one.
Yeah.
He does not get enough credit for how good he is. Yes, he's had some games where he struggled a little bit. He's pretty damn good.
And that's like I said, the kid, you can see his talent. You can see he's an elite player. There have been times this year where he's played as a true freshman, which is what he is. And you look at tonight, the most impressive thing about his stat line, it's not the 23 points.
8 and 6.
0 turnovers.
0 turnovers. Yep.
So he's seeing the floor. He's making making good passes, 6 assists, 0 turnovers. That's running the point.
Yep.
So, earlier in the year you had him. I think he was a little bit rushed and played a little faster and out of himself. He's being decisive, going to the rim. He's driving a bit more, which I think that has also helped this offense as a whole. You've got Chandler, you've got Ziegler, even Fulkerson in the Kentucky game. Put the ball on the floor, a couple bounces to the rim. That's something that this team had not been doing. And it's a good time to be figuring stuff out, getting stuff that's working. But yeah, I think the way Chandler's played the last, couple of weeks for sure, he has certainly elevated his game back to where he should have been after kind of some subpar games.
I was looking at a mock draft earlier tonight, and it had him back first round.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's starting to go back up. I don't think there's ever been a doubt he's coming back. I mean, maybe it started to creep up a little bit, but he's adjusting now. He's starting to play better. I always say it doesn't matter how you're playing in January. It matters how you're playing going into March and, getting up to possibly even April. So Chandler's gone regardless. He is not coming back.
And the thing we've said, especially lottery picks, first-round guys, they're taking on their potential. They're taking on their ceiling. And if you look at this kid's ceiling, he's still developing. And they're based on his elite talent, they're going to gamble on that and figure, you give him 2 or 3 years to continue to develop. Where could he be as a point guard in the NBA? I see him taking off. Just from what we've seen this season and the progression he's made, like you said, the adjustments he's made. I think the game is coming to him now. So, I think it's a one and done, no doubt.
Yeah, he's a true freshman. I mean, he was going to hit a wall. It's just part of it. That's that freshman wall. But again, you look at the point guards Tennessee's had over the years, Turner, which he was more off guard for the most part until after Bone left. But Bone, 3 years, it took him to become – Bone was solid throughout his time, but it was his junior year when he become that real solid point guard. I'm trying to think before Bone, it was they kind of mixed them in a little bit, but that was when Barnes took over. What Chandler's doing, I mean, he's as solid as a point guard as they've had, and he's doing this as a true freshman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he gets to the NBA, he gets that body more where he's more he's still a skinny guy. He gets up there and kind of puts more of that muscle in, gets on right situation. I think he's going to have a nice career in the NBA. Now, I know he's gotten compared to Chris Paul a lot. I mean, I felt Chris Paul was – of course, Paul didn't leave till his sophomore year, if I'm not mistaken, so he had that extra year on it. But, if he even approaches anywhere close to Chris Paul, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, Chris Paul's one of the greatest point guards that's ever played. So, if he's even anywhere in a comparison to that, it's going to be a very successful career for him.
You got 2 comments up here I wanted to address. I'll go with Les Wadley's first because that's what we're talking about before we kind of switch gears. Depends on NIL money, in his opinion. If he gets serious money, he might stay. Here's the thing, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I don't think Tennessee basketball will be giving serious NIL money to anybody until Rick Barnes is no longer the head coach. I think you shared the same opinion. I think it's something he doesn't want to get too heavily involved in. And you look
supposedly they can't offer the high schoolers, but what's going on.
You look at the recruiting and where it is right now, and the struggles they're having. You'd think they'd be doing a little bit better if they were going to throw money at people. Yep. And it's just not – it just doesn't seem to be – Barnes has made some comments about the NIL stuff, and it just seems to me he's just, going to play his contract out and then let the next coach worry about it.
Yeah, I don't see him becoming, the ringleader of the NIL. I mean, you think of it, if Chandler is a first-round pick, he's going to get – I can't remember how the tiers go in those contracts, but that's at least, I'm making a couple million. He's not getting that NIL money. Not in basketball. He's not. You're the only way you're getting that kind of money in NIL, in my opinion, is if it's football.
Right.
I just don't think there's any way. And maybe he had some games where he struggled, and that's where kind of his stock may have temporarily dropped, and people get hopes he's coming back. We've maintained it the whole time, so I'll be absolutely shocked if he comes back. You said there was another comment you wanted to hit.
The one right above that from Red Drum Man, talking about Adu and Huntley Hatfield getting some more time. And I think that's critical moving forward for this team to make a run in the postseason. You're going to have contributions from these younger guys. You're going to have somebody step up off the bench. And tonight you did have contributions from Adu, Huntley Hatfield, Victor Bailey. But, yeah, it is good. We talked about a couple weeks ago the younger guys got in and kind of showed why they were not really getting a lot of minutes because they made some mistakes. So it is good for them to be logging minutes. I feel that losing Kamwa, that could be, if this team isn't able to make a deep run, I think that's going to be a big reason why, because he was hitting his stride, especially offensively, and he was able to do more than we've seen from any of these other guys, especially on the offensive end. I think
that move when he got hurt up there was, especially for a big guy. I mean, he come in, gave the spin and the left-handed. It was impressive. So, he has a lot more ability than these other big guys do.
So, and you also got to look at this is, he's been in the system. He's been in college. So these other guys, they also have the potential to grow and get to that point, but we've just not seen them yet. So, yeah, it is good that they're logging minutes right now, and they're not just going to get thrown in the fire in the postseason.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that I've said it too on here that I think this is you guys that watch North, my opinion on the SEC tournament basketball. I'm not a conference tournament guy. I've been told I'm wrong, that you should have to win conference to get in tournament. I don't agree, but that is the system. And so I'm obviously wrong since that's the system. But this is a year I think Tennessee would benefit from that run for the comment that was right here. So that getting that tournament action in Tampa, it's a neutral court this year, or always neutral court. Normally it's been in Nashville the last few years. It's moved it to Tampa this year, but they're getting that neutral court time. I feel it will be beneficial for these young guys, all these freshmen, to get as much time on a neutral court as possible. Really for the whole team, because they have struggled on a neutral court this year.
Neutral court or the road, they've had their worst games.
Yeah, I think there's years when you're a guarantee to get in that maybe it doesn't hurt to take an early exit and get a little rest. With this team, I think they got some guys that can go. Doesn't matter how many days in a row they play. I believe it would be very beneficial to them to get as many games as possible out of that. And, if you make a good run this year, who knows where your seeding goes. Let's say best case scenario, they win out the next three. Mm-hmm. And, a couple of these games are going to be tough. Even Georgia, we've said it. Auburn come down to the wire against Georgia in Athens. So if they don't show it, they're going to have their hands full with Georgia. But let's say they win out and make a deep run into the SEC tournament. You're looking at possible go as high as a 2 seed.
Yeah.
In that case, I think 3 or 4 more likely. But if you made that kind of a run, maybe even made it to the tournament championship, could be big to be a 2 seed. I'd much rather try to get a 2 than a 4. I don't like that 4 or 5 range.
Yeah.
Those are always tough matchups.
Well, and because typically you're playing somebody that's coming in hot that has potentially had to, win a couple games to get in.
Yeah.
Saw
it last year.
Yeah. Or, if you drop a little lower, you're playing somebody that had to win their tournament to get in.
Yeah.
So I think this team just needs to take care of one game at a time. And I know that's cliche, but, you look at tonight, there were times where, especially early, it looked like, man. And then they had a little bit of a stretch there right when you messaged me where it looked offensively, they just put together 3 or 4 trips down the court that were just brutal. I think 2 bad shots, a turnover, and something else. But and then you had Missouri go down and hit a 3, get a dunk, and then a uncontested layup. So, the quick 8-0 run pretty much because of just a 3-4 minute offensive lull. And that's what this team has to avoid.
Saw it against Vanderbilt last time they played too. Same thing, had a comfortable lead and then got careless. And what was it? It was like 8-0 run, just like that. And it's a brand new game. And I feel it almost feels like every game they played this year, there's been that lull in it. Maybe not as much Kentucky, but I think there was a little bit there.
I think they cut it to 12 because Bradshaw had said something about if Missouri cut it to 10 or less at the 4-minute timeout, it could get pretty interesting. But fortunately, that was about when Vescovi decided to start playing out of his mind and hit 3 threes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. He ended up with 14 points, Chandler 23, Victor Bailey 11. That's your only 3 guys in double figures tonight. James, 9 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists.
So that's
Chandler was your leading rebounder. He was your leading everything.
That's the first game in probably 4 or 5 that I think Ziegler didn't go in double figures.
Yeah, Ziegler only had 6 tonight. So, let's see, he had a couple turnovers, a couple of assists, so he kind of evened out. Yeah, he did fine, but it wasn't one of his better games tonight. I mean, but it was a good night that he didn't have to have that big game also. That was a key thing. I mean, right. That was big for him. I'm still curious to see where Bailey goes from here. 5 out of 8, 1 out of 1 3-point. So he wasn't forcing just the 3-pointers.
Yeah.
And, nobody was not. You had Vescovi 4-6, James 2 out of 5, Chandler 2 out of 4, Ziegler 0 of 2, and Bailey 1 out of 1. So they only shot 9 out of 18. That's a pretty efficient night behind the 3-point range. And, those are big nights for them when they do that. I mean, there were more driving to the hole. There were just more fluid. Like you said, they had that one stretch that was rough. But other than that, I thought it was pretty solid play tonight.
Yeah. Went to the free throw line 19 times. So that's, putting the ball on the floor and driving and creating, even if it's creating, that kick out for a jumper instead of just when they get late in the shot clock and have to try to run ISO and just throw something up. That is the most frustrating because the majority of the time you're looking at 3-point guards on the floor and nobody's helping with the shot clock running out.
Yeah.
But
interesting, you mentioned the free throws. That's for one critique of Chandler. 3 out of 7 free throws tonight. He's the only one that missed. Everybody else was perfect on the night.
And that's something I said when he was having his struggles. He missed, and I can't remember what game it was particularly, but I said, 5-star guys, those elite talent guys, game on the line, they come in and hit free throws to win and ice a game out.
Yeah.
So that's something he's going to have to improve on.
Let's see. I don't agree with this. I like AD. I like what he's doing. I think they bring different games, but Kamwa is more of a scorer and stuff. He's more solid all around than Adu. But I like what Adu's brought. I think he's been a shot in the arm for this team. I think he's added a presence because if guys drive in, it's not going to be easy with Adu in there.
He's a definite rim protector. I think Kamwa,
3 blocks tonight.
Kamwa was coming into his own offensively. And granted, it took him a couple years to kind of get to that because he was one that would, log a couple minutes and, just seemed to struggle. But I don't know that I would say he doesn't show up big in games. He had a couple pretty big games against, lesser opponents, but he was also starting to play better in conference before he went down with the injury. So,
like you said earlier, I felt he was hitting his stride. I felt it was a bad – there's no good time to lose a starter, but, especially I felt like he'd been playing a lot better recently.
Here's the other thing. I think when he went out, he was leading the team in 3-point shooting percentage. Granted, his sample size was a lot smaller, but he was shooting 46% or something.
He could stretch teams out a little bit instead of just being one-dimensional.
Yeah. So, and you talk about if he's running the 5 with those other, with Vescovi, Chandler, James, and Ziegler, that's 5 guys that you're going to have to extend that defense all the way out to the 3-point line. So it's kind of apples and oranges when you're talking about those 2 guys. It just they bring different things, but moving forward, you got to roll with Huntley Hatfield, Adu, Uros, whoever else, because there's no Kamwa.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised a couple times tonight. I noticed Huntley Hatfield was top of the key, nobody near him, and normally I know he can shoot the 3, and it was just like he didn't want any of it. Kind of looks like a guy that's having confidence issues. But, I think tonight could have also helped. I've kind of thought that a little bit recently with Huntley Hatfield. I think it's one of those too much thinking.
Right.
And maybe it's because, he makes a little mistake and it's felt like at times makes a mistake or two and then he's pulled and not put back in.
Looking over the shoulder or looking over to the bench. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't help but if I put myself in his shoes and it was that way, I'd probably be the same way on it. If I make a couple mistakes or something and I'm getting pulled and not coming back in, I'm probably a lot more hesitant there on it. So it's I would like to see him when he gets that open shot, if they leave him open to key, that he shoots it. If he misses it, so be it. But, it seems like Barnes is going to bench him whether he hits it or not. So, but I did think it was a productive night for him with 6 and 6. That was one of his better games in a while. And he had, 4 offensive rebounds. So, that was helping create those second chance points. It's big.
Yeah, that's Tennessee handedly won the rebound matchup 40-34, and they had 12 offensive rebounds. So that was pretty big time, like you said, for second chance points. 8 steals, and that's what I've said all along. A Rick Barnes team, I think they're playing their best when the defense feeds the offense. I think this team would be better suited to run more tempo than they do, especially with the guys that they have out there, but they don't seem to want to push it a whole lot. But
I would like to see them hit some up tempo too. They've played it some and played pretty well with, especially when they go to that 4-guard lineup.
Yeah,
they could easily do it. I mean, I was impressed that one time they ended up not counting, but Euros hit Chandler on a backdoor for layup, and then they got to steal, and Chandler went up, and it ended up not count. But Euros, man, he ran the court and followed it up and jammed it back in, but it didn't count. But it's like, man, he looked pretty good running the court on that one. So, he might have Hulk hands, but, he's a little more agile in that as far as how he can move and run, at least, straight ahead speed than we give him credit for. I don't know about side to side or anything.
That bounce pass has got to be like right in the breadbasket, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. They're going to need – what do you think's key to beating Auburn on Saturday?
They've got to match Auburn's guard play. And then if
do they have an answer for Auburn's post game?
That they did with Tibwe for Kentucky. They played matched up with him in Knoxville, almost as good as anybody has. You look what's Florida's big guy that was hurt most of the season, came back. He outplayed Kessler Saturday.
What, over the weekend?
Yeah. But it's going to take a combined. I don't think it's going to be, one person show out and drop 28 or 30. I think you're going to, Castleton. You're going to have a solid game from everybody. And that doesn't mean, everybody's scoring points. If you've got the guys in the post playing good and denying Kessler inside, you hope the trend continues playing well at home and they get off, shoot the ball well, hot start. I think get off to a hot start. You look at what they did against Arizona and what they did against Kentucky. Those two big games, fast start is what really kind of sealed the deal. They never looked back at Kentucky. And if it wasn't for the fast start and the big lead they built up against Arizona, they would have ended up losing that game because offensively they hit the lull and the defense did just enough to keep the lead that they'd built up from being overtaken.
I think so. I don't know how much emotion runs now when Pearl comes to town. I know used to it was pretty emotional. I don't know. It really should be a moot point now. I mean, yeah, he coached there, had a lot of success, but he's been gone long enough. But I hope that crowd, and I fully expect that crowd's going to bring it.
Well, the thing is, you got a top 5 team coming into the building.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to me, that's what everybody should be more fired up over is the ranking that Auburn has versus who is sitting on the end of Auburn's bench coaching them.
They need to boo him out of the building. Lay it on him. You're going to hear a boo all the way from South Carolina. I know that. But I think they'll be fired up. I mean, if they can – and then Arkansas is going to be off the charts. Mm-hmm. That crowd is going to be off the charts after the way that game went Saturday. And Bud Walton was hopping. I mean, they were fired up about that game. But, there was a lot of – Tennessee had some beef Saturday. Now, go back again. I say it again. It's an absolute travesty. And I've seen some writers saying, oh, these charge calls are tough on these officials. No, they're not. It's not different. If a guy jumps in the air and you jump under him, that is a block. It's not changed since you and I played. It's no different now unless they change the rule. There is no way, no how that when you jump under a guy, that is a charge. If they're in that circle under the basket, that's a block. If the offensive guy's got to have a little bit of room to move. If he's got his path and a guy jumps in front of him, that is a block. Now, I mean, if they throw a forearm or something, I understand that. But a lot of these charge calls are crap. They're absolute garbage. Tennessee had some real beef Saturday against Arkansas. They have a right to be pissed off at the officiating, but at the same time, they shot the ball horribly.
Right.
So they can't totally blame it on officiating, but I still think they had some beef with it as well.
Totally agree. And, did you see Barnes yesterday come out and say, I'd hoped after a couple days and watching the tape, I'd kind of be a little bit better with the officiating and the calls. He said I wasn't.
Said he's not.
So, it's like you said, some of those that they're like, oh, it's kind of they weren't iffy. They were bad calls. The guys were still sliding. They had no position. They were still sliding in front of the driving offensive player. So it's just
it's a travesty.
There's a couple of those guys that need to hang it up. That they've been around too long, and I don't know if they need LASIK or something, but they're missing.
It's just affecting the game. I mean,
Yeah.
because of that, Tennessee's main guys were in foul trouble Saturday. That affects you a whole lot when your main three guys are having to sit for numerous amounts of time over ridiculous fouls. They're human. They're going to miss them some, but it's just over the top ridiculous. And basically, in my opinion, if you're officiating in the SEC, you should be considered a professional.
Well, it's the same thing
you don't know what a charge call is. You don't need to be calling. In the
same
SEC.
thing we said about football. This conference touts itself as the premier, football conference, a good basketball conference, but yet you've got officials that look like they should be out on Friday nights and during the week doing high school games. So it's just what needs to happen is these guys need to be paid and full-time employees of the SEC instead of guys that work, a 9-to-5 job during the week and also do officiating. It's a sorry state to claim to be such, elite competition, to only have it be marred by judgment calls that aren't necessarily always right. And that's what's so bad is it takes the focus off of the student athletes and puts it on the officials.
I don't understand how. I'm spot on, man. I don't understand, like you said, how you claim to be the best, but yet you basically got guys who show up on the weekends to do it. They need to have full-time trained officials through the week. When they're not on the court or on the field, they're going through training, becoming better, being up to date on it. It's inexcusable. So let's see, one I wanted to hit here. Hey man, you never have to apologize on that. We hang on, I think I hit the wrong. Oh, here we go. You never have to apologize for that, man. You've been super generous. We appreciate you. I understand the vet bills things. Unfortunately, I'm probably I hope everything's good. Unfortunately, I'm probably getting ready to experience them too. Got one who's old. He's old. Time's winding down, unfortunately. So we'll see.
Never
but
easy.
Nope. So definitely feel. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks as always for all your generosity and being here. A lot of people saying they're worried about the bigs for Auburn. Absolutely. Two of the best in the country. Jabari Smith, depending on where you're looking, possible number 1 overall pick. I see different ones between him, Holmgren, and Paulo at Duke. So, depends on, obviously, a lot of these mock drafts, they don't know who's going to pick first right now, so it's going to depend on team, but could very well be your number 1 pick. It's going to be a handful. Who's going to be on him? I'm curious to see. I think this is a game. I don't know. Does Euros his physicality? Is it coming? Does the Incredible Folk show? Is it time for the young guys to become kind of boys to men on Saturday? I'm curious to see what the answer is on it, or do you try to match Auburn? Auburn's going to have their bigs. Do you just try to counter with speed on them? I don't know if you can counter speed because Smith he's a freak, man.
Yeah. It is definitely going to be an uphill battle, but we've said it multiple times on this show. Tennessee plays to the level of their opponent. They seem to get up and come out and play really good for these big games, and then they'll come out and kind of have a letdown game against a Vanderbilt or a Missouri or South Carolina, and let them hang around all game because making mistakes, turning the ball over, or poor shooting. So I like that it's in Knoxville. This team has played really well at home, so
I think Thompson Bowling will be sold out. If it's not already. Yeah,
no doubt.
I know I will not be going. I've not been to a game in Thompson Bowling. I honestly don't think I've been to a game in Thompson Bowling since Conzo was the coach. It's been a long time. The last UT basketball game I went to was 2 weeks ago up here in Columbia. But before that, when they came to Johnson City and played ETSU, I guess that was the last one I'd gone to prior to that. So my only UT games I've been to the last 3 years has been when they've come to Columbia in basketball and baseball.
I was at a Georgia game 3 years ago, I think, in Knoxville.
Basketball?
Yeah. And then, of course, I've been to a couple baseball games the last couple of years. Went to one of the Arkansas games last year in baseball to close out the season. Hopefully going to try to go to, I think, the SEC opener in baseball against South Carolina in a couple weeks. I was there last Sunday.
Yeah, we was talking about that. How'd the stadium look compared to what it's looked like before?
You could tell some of the work that they've done. The double-decker porch out there was pretty sweet looking. We were in the general admission down the left field line. It was nice. It was packed. They actually set a series record for attendance over 13,000 between the three games, and Friday was an early first pitch and freezing. So
yeah,
to have that many people there for a game like that, it's exciting, and I think this baseball team could make some noise. So
yeah, it's what, high 30s.
Yeah,
Friday. Man, I felt bad for you guys.
Sunday was beautiful. The kids loved it. It was a good afternoon for baseball.
Yeah, I felt bad for you guys in temperatures. Just felt bad when I was here enjoying 70 degrees while it's high 30s there. It was perks of living a little further south, I guess. This time, February is the time where the big difference comes in. That was what sold me when we were going to move down here. I wasn't that sold, and I come down for an interview, and I left Tennessee. It was high 30s, spitting snow, and I drove down to Augusta for the day. Got down to Augusta, it was over 70 degrees. I was like, I think Crazy. I can handle this right here. I mean, we were 80s today. We're going to be right at 80s all week. So pretty nice there. But, yeah, it was cold temperatures. It was fun to watch. I was hoping to get to watch them Sunday night. This show was in a little bit of jeopardy. We all of a sudden had our yard being dug up today, and the internet was out till 7:07 p.m.
Jeez.
So it was kind of questionable on that. But we are at the 50-minute mark, 65 people watching. I think we're going to get ready and wrap this thing up here. But 80-61 Tennessee. Good night overall. I mean, they had a little bit of trouble at one point. Missouri cut it to 12, but they finished the game strong. Like you said, Vescovy got hot. He went nuts there for a bit. Me personally, a win on the road in the SEC, and I'm happy with it. I really am, because they're just not easy to come by. And we talk about Georgia. We've seen over the years, Georgia's not had that many good basketball teams over the last few years or so, and Tennessee has still gone down and had fits in that place. So I'm happy with it tonight. Saturday's a whole different ball game. No.
Got Reed Harrison wanting some predictions for the Auburn game. You gonna go on a limb and guarantee one like you did against Kentucky?
Man, it's early in the week right now. It's it's early in the week. Yeah, it's blood gets. I just don't know, man. I'm nervous about it just because I'm curious to see how Tennessee matches up with Auburn. Those big guys scare me because I just don't know. I want to see what – I'm just not sure how Tennessee's going to counter those big guys. I just don't think they have anybody can handle them. Can they maybe get physical with them a little bit? We'll see.
I'd like to see him try to drive right at them and get them in foul trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to got to win the guard matchup. You know, I think it's a case of you probably got to assume going in you're not going to win the paint. But Arizona game, I mean, that looked like a big mismatch coming in. Tennessee won every part of the paint that night.
Yeah.
That was big. Can they do the same thing against Auburn? I think Auburn has better bigs than Arizona has. But Arizona's, I mean, what are they, like second right now? So it's at home, 4 o'clock. That'll be a prime time for it. I don't know that I could guarantee one on this. I think for Tennessee to win that game, they're going to have their backcourt's going to have to win that game for them.
I agree. I think you're going to have a game like you had from Kennedy Chandler tonight. I think you're going to have a little bit more from Ziegler. You know, you look at the box score tonight. Chandler was 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 0 turnovers, 23 points. Ziegler was just 6 points.
Yep, 6, 2 assists, 2 turnovers.
2 assists, 2 turnovers. So I think those guys, you know, we've said it about every podcast. Santi is your kind of steady Eddie.
Yeah.
You know, I think even though it was late before he kind of got clicking tonight, still rattled off 14 points. You know, I think he's going to get his. Is everybody else going to step up around him? I think that's the question.
Yeah, another concern, too, is that Pearl's owned Barnes.
Yeah.
Over the years. I mean, I don't know what the overall record their head-to-head is, but I think Barnes has maybe gotten him a time or two since he's been at UT. I don't know. If anybody's got that, feel free to leave that for us. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I know that Pearl has won a lot more than he's lost against Barnes. So just seems to be something about that style and that matchup with them. So, you know, we'll see. Let's say Lucas Sharp. Was this football or basketball? Here, I haven't seen this. Have you seen that, Dauber?
No.
I think Boogie did a video on a UCLA transfer, so that may be football.
I think it was.
So we'll see. I mean, transfer market should pick up for Tennessee. Spring practice, what, about a month away?
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I believe it's been said that I don't understand it. They've had to be limited in the portal until spring, and then it's pretty much I don't know if I understand why up till spring and then you can add. I got maybe it's some kind of time period or something, but I do expect they will be active after that. So let's see if there's anything else here. I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. We'll let you know on Saturday. We'll kind of talk after we go off the air here to see if we'll be live Saturday or if it'll be a video. It's cool. Go to depend. There's a lot going on right now. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted. But thanks for tuning in with us tonight, guys. Tennessee 80, Missouri 61. A road win's a road win in the SEC, especially for this team. So Tennessee continues that march on. They still, something we've not talked about, have a chance to win the regular season conference championship.
Yep.
They're right there, one game out. So Joshua Wall says Pearl 6-4. That's closer than I thought it was. And then, well, Chris Manfield says 7 straight for Pearl against Barnes. So I don't know based on those two. Either way you go, Pearl's got to win the record against Barnes. But again, guys, appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to wrap it up. My name is the Indy Kid. He's Dauber. Tennessee 80-61. Roll on, guys. Put your foot on Bruce Pearl's throat and do not let it off. Go Big Orange.